Everyone, thank you so much for contributing. We look forward to working with you and in the coming year and moving things forward. So now we're going to move on to our panel discussion, and I'm going to let Heidi take over this portion of the meeting. So thank you all, and thank you guys all for being here. Here you go.
Okay, so for this part, I'm going to just turn my computer here a little bit so that we can get this table of part of our speaker suite, and then Nicole is online. So I'm going to, we'll go through and let the Nicole and the ladies from the Maui Visitors Bureau and Paulo introduce themselves and give a little presentation on the things that they're working on currently, and then we'll open it up to questions from, we're going to start with just questions from the people online. So if you have questions as we're talking, please put them in the chat. We're all here, so we get to talk story and keep asking questions after the Zoom part of this. So we'll just make sure that we keep an eye on our timing, so then we can let our local elected representatives give updates on what's going on in the community and call our meeting on Zoom to a close. So with that, Nicole, I'm going to pass it back to you and let you go ahead and start this. The one other thing that I'll do now is in the chat, I will put a link to the questions that we have. And if you didn't grab one at the table where you registered, you can get the printed out copies of this, but you can go ahead and type your answers online too. I'll make sure I put the link out to this tomorrow so we can keep getting responses for that. So with that, Nicole, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, thank you, Heidi. So where I left off, basically, I'd like to continue to introduce Valley Isle Excursions and myself. On a personal note, I am the youngest daughter of Ray and Yolanda. I recently took a more active role with Valley Isle Excursions after my dad passed unexpectedly in 2019. And of course, Mom's nearing retirement and she's ready, and I think she's deserving. So I'm honored to be entrusted with the task of continuing on with Valley Isle Excursions. And with that, we have some exciting changes, and we also have some things that are part of our structure. And part of our structure that is passed down from Mom and Dad is our guiding principles. And so that is what I'd like to cover with you guys today. And before I proceed with that, a little bit about me is prior to stepping to the role at Valley Isle Excursions as the corporate secretary, I actually served on the Honolulu Police Department for 10 years. And I missed home, I missed family. So I relocated back to Maui, where I am raised. I'm from Maui, back in 2018, and transferred to the Maui Police Department. And I had the honor to serve the Hana community with the Maui Police Department for about a year. That was 2018 to 2019. So I'm not a stranger to the Hana community at all, not in the professional aspect and not even in the personal aspect. I spent a lot of my childhood days actually down in Wailua with the Smith family growing up. So my mom's been a tour guide for 30 years, and I remember back when Noko'oi tours and Ekahi tours were operating out there, she basically dropped me off in Wailua, do her tour, and a few days later come and pick me back up. So I am very fond of not just Hana, but the communities all along the way into Hana. So I think with that, there is a deeply embedded love and respect for the businesses out there and the people, especially the people. Businesses, my dad has always said, are really tools and resources to help people in whatever aspect that they are going to help. And they don't always help people in the same ways as the next person, but we are tools and resources. So with that, I'd like to go into our guiding principles. And our first one is that we are ohana and we take care of one another. Again, from my own personal life, taking care of family, that comes first, down to our employees, even our guests, the people out there and in the communities. I'd like to pose a question though, is how many of us actually always get along with everybody in our family all the time? Yeah. So with that, I mean, I can honestly say that I don't, but at the same time, there is a genuine love and respect always, despite our differences, despite the up and downs. We always carry a degree of love and respect for our ohana, and that's where Valiao stands. Is, we may all have different opinions and different approaches and different personalities and different morals, but at the end of the day, we are family. So there is a degree of love and respect, and so that's our first guiding principle. And we really try to stand firm with that commitment to our family, whether it's our employees, our guests, the people, the community, and of course within our own state as a business and as stakeholders in the future of managed tourism. Our second guiding principle is we impart genuine aloha spirit. And for us, it's share, and share. Even the ugly parts. I mean, Hawaiian history and culture is beautiful. The people are beautiful, but it's not all rainbows and flowers. There are some very hard moments in Hawaiian history, hard to swallow, especially for our guests, but we cannot not share it. But for us, it's important to share it in a way that is intelligent and compassionate, where we don't point fingers, but instead of putting blame on anybody, we really want to look for solutions. What is the solution learning moving forward? What can we learn from our history, from the Hawaiian history, from the culture, from the sufferings, and so that we can move forward from that and create better future for our keiki with our education and our wisdom. So with that, our aloha spirit is really we share everything, but we share it with a sense of compassion, and that kind of falls in line with we really want to be pioneers of kapu aloha. We want to make sure that hard topics are heard, but we don't revert back into a place of anger. We want to always revert back to a place of love. Our third guiding principle is we celebrate the local and native culture of Hawaii. My dad used to always say, in customer service, when operating a tour company, a lot of times we see people who save all their lives. This is coming to Hawaii is a dream vacation. It's a dream for them come true. And we get to live it. We get to live here. Yes, it does come with a price. And yes, it does come with challenges, but we get to enjoy this. So we want to always maintain a grateful heart and celebrate that these people are dreaming of being here and experiencing Hawaii and the culture. And so we should really be proud of that. The culture, the history, the aloha. We should really be teaching that everybody should have a sense of pride. And of course, with that pride, we want to share, but also protect. So we really try to, in our guiding principles and in the way we operate, to really convey that to our employees and to our guests, and also to the community. We want to be involved. We want to be involved so that we can help celebrate those things, whether it's a donation, participation. I know for a long time, mom and dad had Valley Isle Excursions participate with the Aloha Week festivities, to the Hana Canoe Club, Hale building. There's a lot. And so we want to continue to celebrate those things so that we can continue to teach our keiki and to share with our guests and be proud, be very proud of the culture and the community that we have here in Hawaii, and especially in Hana. Hana is very unique. And with that being said, we definitely want to protect that. And so with that, we want to go into our next guiding principle is we serve and advocate for our community. We understand that as a managed tour operator, we do impact the community in a lot of capacities. And we want to make sure that when we impact the communities, that we also give back, that we are really operating as, like I said before, a tool, a resource to the community, so that if there is a need, if there is a problem, they have a resource to go to. You know, if we are impacting the community in a negative way, we want to be able to have that open door conversation. Like I said, the tough conversations that not a lot of people want to hear or do or say, but needs to be. And through those conversations, we work things out. We, develop solutions. So that's where we are standing as Valley Isle Excursions, as an open door to serve our community, the communities that we impact.
Just a couple more minutes, Nicole, so we can get the other speakers introduced too.
Okay, thank you. Number 5 is we malama the land and sea and lead in sustainability and ecotourism. One thing that our tour company does is that we don't leave any waste in Hana. Whatever we bring, we take out. And that's so we don't contribute to the landfill. I know it's beautiful down there. Doesn't look like a landfill at all. And we would like to keep it that way. So that's one of our things that we, one of our policies that we do for our business is that we don't want to leave any opala out there. So everything that we bring in, we take out. In sustainability, our policies, again, whether it's something from recycled paper or recycling paper, we want to make sure that we are doing our contributions to sustainability. And also ecotourism. We are actually doing trainings now with our guides, and we are inviting nonprofit and conservation entities like Maui Mauka. We just had a training with them earlier this year to kind of help us be more aware and to educate ourselves so that we can pass that knowledge on to our guests. And something that we really take to heart is, we want them, our guests, to take nothing but the sand between their toes and nothing but the memories for them to reflect, and nothing but the photos to share, and leave behind nothing but love, respect, and understanding. So that's kind of our mantra with sustainability and ecotourism. Our 6th guiding principle is we facilitate responsible tourism and guest safety. So from our guides, we train our guides. They go through rigorous training from observing the Hana Road first and foremost, so that they can have a humbled position and respect for the guides who are already driving the road, and so that they can see what it really takes out there. It takes a special kind of person and personality to drive the road, and to drive it with respect and accountability. For us, when we do train our guides, we have placards on our buses to let the community know that this is a guide in training. Please be patient with us. We know that we have to pull on the side, as a tour company, and I'll be the first to admit we are a company that has some of the bigger buses out there. We understand that people in and out of the community are moving with a purpose, and so we need to get out of their way. So we do have a conscious effort of pulling on the side as soon as it's safely possible. We also educate our guests from the moment they step on the bus with safety tips to make sure that they're not.
It's a Zoom pause. Let's see how widespread it is. Is anyone else moving on Zoom?
Can I talk to her?
Oh, there you go. You're back.
No chance.
You're back.
Okay. So with having passion and pride in what we do, I strongly feel like when you have passion in what you do, you're gonna come from a good place with the right intentions. And my mom and dad, my mom, again, a guide for 30 years, had a love affair, still has a love affair with Hana. And she shared that with me. And in turn, we share that with all of our employees, and that trickles down to our guests. And we really get that passion from being able to enjoy the people and the community and the beauty and the pristine of Hana. And we really want to stay committed to preserving that. Especially that, like I said before, we are a managed tour operator and we do impact the community out there. So we really want to be part of the solutions and bringing balance with, you know, economic opportunity out there that will directly benefit the communities that we impact. So with that being said, I just want to say that with tour companies, not all tour companies are created equal, but we are all guilty by association. So basically, I come from a place of humbleness where we do want to continue to be the leaders in stewardship out there in Hana, but we also understand that if one's doing bad, it reflects poorly on all. And so if there is a way that Valley Isle Excursions can be a leader in stewardship, then, you know, I'd like to rise to that challenge. I know my dad really tried hard to be that leader in stewarding guided tours out there, and I have a lot to learn and I have a lot to grow, but I am committed to that challenge. So thank you again for allowing me this opportunity to speak. Thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to serve on the board. And I really look forward to working with everybody out there and especially the community. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Nicole.
Aloha. Aloha. Well, thank you for having us here this evening. We're really honored to be here at your annual meeting. And I'd also like to make a personal thank you to Dawn, who took time out of her day to drive us around today, to show us the hot spots, the concerns of what the Hana community has. You know, it's one thing to read about it in the paper or to see it on the news, but to actually to be there and see it and experience it, it really truly is an eye-opener. And it's something that is actually, you know, very good for us as a Visitors Bureau, who are the ones that are in contact with our visitors, that we educate them, that we can tell them from experience what it is that, you know, the impacts that it has. I'm going to just really quickly introduce my team here. I'm the executive director of the Maui Visitors Bureau, Sherry Duong, and I have with me Leanne Pletcher, my PR and marketing director, Meagan, DeGaia, our destination manager. And I know we're on a little bit of a time constraint here, and so I'm going to kind of cut my introduction so that I can turn it over to Meagan, who could talk more about the Destination Management Action Plan that Hawaii Tourism Authority is in partnership with all of the counties, Visitors Bureau, as well as the inter-agencies, as how we can try to rebuild, redefine, and reset tourism.
There's a lot of dessert here, folks. Come on up and grab it.
Dessert? Yeah. Just go fast.
That's quite good.
And just tell me what you need here. I'll just flip for you.
Sounds great, thanks. Thank you so much, Sherry. Thank you so much to all of you at the Hana Business Council for having us. It's been such a great experience to be out on the road with Dawn earlier today and learning, and that's a big part of why we're here, is to really learn from each of you. Next slide, please.
I thought I could do this, but
Maybe the space bar.
yeah.
There. Okay. So just some of the topics that we'll be going over during this brief presentation. I'll be sharing an introduction with you about what the Maui Nui Destination Management Action Plan is and the general statewide initiative that is the DMAP. We'll also be going over what the hotspots in the DMAP are, many of which, the majority as you can imagine, are here in East Maui. And then we'll also be going specifically into the DMAP actions that relate to Hana itself, and a request for input through the survey that you received both online and when you arrived tonight. Next slide. So as Sherry was sharing, the Destination Management Action Plan is an initiative by the Hawaii Tourism Authority, and it's all in an effort towards regenerative tourism. So regenerative tourism is really at the heart of the Destination Management Action Plans for each of the islands in the state. And within that, what is regenerative tourism? Well, it's tourism that benefits the Aina, the Kama'aina, and the Molihini, the visitor industry. So it's really a series of actions that have been identified by local steering committees that are meant to be a win and beneficial to all. Next slide, please. So just to get a little bit more specific, you might be wondering, okay, how were these destination management action plans created? Who came up with these actions within the plan? Raise your hand. Have you heard of the Destination Management Action Plan? Okay, great. If your hand is up, give your neighbor a high five. Paulo? Oh. Yes. Great. So as Sherry said, the goal of the DMAP is to rebuild, reset, and redefine the direction that tourism is going in. And so the actions of the DMAP itself were created by steering committees that the Hawaii Tourism Authority convened on each of the different islands, including our neighbor islands of Lanai and Molokai. And they were comprised of local community members. So one of the representatives for our Maui steering committee was Kaui Kanakaole. So she was bringing the voice and the perspective from East Maui to the steering committee, bringing her input. If you can just go back to that slide if possible.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. So over a series of meetings, the steering committees provided their input and then came up with a series of actions. All of these actions are aimed to improve the quality of life for residents through regenerative tourism. My background's actually in conservation, and so it's been a real joy and honor for me to be able to bring my background in environmentalism to this work, and the DMAP is such a reflection of conservation. It's really great in that sense. So each of the actions also contain a number of sub-actions. Next slide, please. And we will be going over just a brief example of what those actions and sub-actions are so you can get a real taste for the flavor of the DMAP. But the DMAP also identifies hotspots. So I just want to take a moment to focus on that because as we can imagine, many of the hotspots identified in the DMAP are out here in East Maui. So you can see that list here. And so these and more are hotspots that are on our radar and that we're working to improve through proper management. So I encourage everyone to Google Maui Nui Destination Management Action Plan. The PDF's going to come up right away. And then as you scroll down, you're going to start to see actions and sub-actions like this. So you can see that Action B calls us to initiate, fund, and continue programs that protect the health of our ocean, freshwater, and land-based ecosystems and biosecurity. So in a word, our ahupua'a. And so B1, I just want to focus a little bit on this one. This one calls us to promote Hawaii's sunscreen law and educate visitors about proper sunscreen use. So we were thrilled when we saw that the Maui County Council unanimously passed the ordinance towards banning all chemical sunscreens. Thank you so much. And so we really wanted to take that bull by the horns, and it's also in the DMAP calling us to educate visitors. So next slide, please. With this in mind, we're completing an SMA permit right now to install 20 mineral-only sunscreen dispensers throughout Maui Nui, one of which would be at Hulapo'e on the island of Lanai with permission from Pulama Lanai. And so this is what the headboard would look like and the dispenser. These will be free for public use. So this will be a free benefit any beachgoer, visitor, kama'aina can take advantage of. And I share this with you, not only because it's something you can be on the lookout for once we receive the permit in the beaches on the rest of the islands, but also DLNR at Wainapanapa has agreed to allow us to have one there. So this is really the heart of the DMAP, like I was saying, where kama'aina visitors and the aina all can benefit. We all know how important it is to get these chemicals out of the water. Over on island of Hawaii, they're seeing their reef bounce back. So really looking forward to giving those fish the drive and the will to reproduce again. We know that those chemical sunscreens inhibit that, and then allowing those coral polyps to recolonize is really hopeful. And then thank you so much to the Hana Business Council for allowing us to provide those questions. I encourage everybody to please fill out the hard copy survey questions or find it online in your email. We really are relying on your input. We really need and want to know what it is that you want and the solutions and the issues that you're facing. So thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you to the Hana Business Council for allowing us the opportunity to get that out to you. So really, like I was saying, we're really wanting to know your needs, the solutions you'd like to see, and how we can support you. Just to zoom in on that a little bit more, some of the things that we're hearing from the community that might be beneficial, that we'd specifically like your input on, is the potential of visitor information personnel program based at different hotspots. For example, 2 folks at each location, paid positions, providing ecological, cultural orientations about appropriate behavior, where they can go, where they cannot go, providing alternatives, providing parking orientations, and how to be respectful of wildlife and safety on the trail. So really wanting to know, how do you feel about this type of program? Which locations are in most need? And with regard to those folks also collecting carrying capacity data, how would you like to see that carrying capacity data be utilized? One of the actions in the DMAP calls for data collection with regard to carrying capacity. So would you want that to be utilized in the form of a reservation system, or how can we be of service? Also want to propose the possibility of community-driven messaging for Hana by Hana. So one of the actions in the Lanai DMAP called us to create an advisory group to develop messaging about appropriate behavior on their island, sustainable and responsible tourism, places folks can go, can't go, improper place names, the gamut. Images that they would want to be used to represent them, images that they don't want to use to represent them, and it's been really successful working with them. We're so thankful for the advisory group over there, and we've compiled all of the information that they've provided to us, and now we're applying it in several arenas and putting out messaging that reflects their identity as a community. And so we'd like to know, is your community, is Hana interested in developing such messaging in that same vein, so that we can identify all the different regenerative tourism locations that people are welcome to go to, and just get the message out so that we can be of service to you.
What's happening here?
Looks like some text somehow got deleted off of my Mahalo slide. There we go. Some suspense for the evening. Thank you all so much for this opportunity. We really appreciate you inviting us out here. It's been a joy to spend the evening with you, and we're looking forward to your questions and connecting with you after the meeting as well. Thank you.
I just wanted to make one quick comment about the whole DMAP that we're going through right now. And what I really like about it is the fact that it brings together a lot of agencies together, because as you know, it takes more to paddle a canoe than just the one, right? And for a visitors bureau, our primary role has always been in the past. We message things. We get the communication out to our visitors. We're not enforcers. And so to have this DMAP in place where we can talk to DOT, to DLNR, to the county representatives, to state legislative, it really makes a difference, because we need help, in order to push these things through. And, and we've been getting that. And so, although Meagan does a great job, and she's a catalyst to trying to put all these together, but it's working with all these agencies. And so we just want to say thank you for all of the help that we're getting through all of the agencies that's working with us. So thank you. And council member, we're waiting for the SMA for the permits.
Way to network. That's what it's all about. Okay, so we'll move forward with Paulo. Untangle you here. There. Okay.
Aloha mai kākou. O Paulo Falefine ko inoa, no Honolulu Oahu mai au, noho Wailuku. Yeah. So my name is Paulo Falefine. I'm born and raised on the island of Oahu from Honolulu at Kapilani Hospital, like probably everybody on that island. And I currently reside in Wailuku, Maui. I'd like to thank Don for inviting me to come this evening, Heidi for helping coordinate, Martin, Paul for this beautiful facility, and the Ono food, mahalo to the family. Yeah. So, and thank you Hana community for allowing me to come. I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called DeGaia, and we have come forward with an initiative that we're calling the omāhua initiative. Omāhua is action to cause to thrive and to grow. Our nonprofit was founded in February of 2017 as a 501c3. Our purpose is simply to preserve and promote aloha in the world with the mission to impact youth to achieve excellence in life. And how did we end up going down to a route of technology? Is because one day we woke up and saw Hana was suffering from over-tourism, like it exploded here. And there was something that called us to say, how can we be of assistance? Because we're looking at creating like a cultural tourism app, because we figured, well, we can probably do a lot better job at having Hawaiian representation doing a cultural tour than most apps that are not Hawaiian representation doing the tours. So that led us to finding technology, finding an answer, how can we impact tourism? And that's what led to the whole omāhua initiative, where simply we're looking to hit these 5 strategic goals: advance the Native Hawaiian economic resilience, perpetuate Native Hawaiian culture, improve tourism management and community planning, grow the Hawaii circular economy, and positively impact the communities. And so the simplest way to put it is we want to utilize an application that tourists can connect to as a one-stop shop, that they receive real-time data of what the conditions are with where they might want to visit. And so how we're looking to bring that about is through technology. I know this is a lot of stuff to look at. So basically it's technology, what they call IoT, Internet of Things devices, basically anything that connects to the cloud. We use a technology called LiDAR, which is light detection and ranging, that can see about a 600-foot radius around it, paint a 3-dimensional picture, and count how many things are happening within that space. And so in this video, what you see is what one of those 3D pictures look like. And if there's no camera attached to these LiDAR sensors, basically all it sees is dots of light. Yeah? And it's through the algorithm that this technology has, and these folks are out of Silicon Valley. You know? What this algorithm can do is understand shapes. There's a vehicle, there's a person. Yeah? And so what we might have missed here is that as soon as he walked into an exclusionary zone, the system automatically snapped the camera onto him. And now wherever he goes, he's going to be tracked so long as those LiDAR devices can see him in that line of sight. Yeah. So this is really next level stuff that's currently available today. Yeah. And so we want to utilize this technology. It's accurate down to 3 centimeters. So it can catch some mongoose running across the road if it needs to. And it can track about over 300 or 600 objects at a time. Yeah. And provide an accurate count of everything that's moving in and out of zones. Yeah. And this really, I wouldn't be here talking if it wasn't for folks like Council Member Shane Sinensi and Kelly King and Tamara Paulton that didn't support the work we're doing, allowed us to move this forward from the CARE Committee to a unanimous decision from the County Council, and then setting aside provisos so we can now get towards a pilot project. Yeah. What you see here is, so basically what we want to do, all of that video feed and that understanding of what's happening in real time wherever these places are, the only thing we would open to the public as far as to see would just be an understanding of what you see in this mock-up of an app, where they would see a heat map and an understanding like, hey, that place you want to visit is at 100% or 110% capacity. consider going somewhere else on the island that doesn't have 1,000 people. You know, in the app that we'd look to pilot, essentially the focus would be to have the capacity count so people know what's happening. You'd have a shop local so people can patron businesses all from one space. You'd have next part of volunteering so people can know what community organizations to reach out to. And you, of course, would have culture. So that way people can get into more of an understanding of native stories or digital stories that we can also share through the app. So we'll go to the next slide. So if everyone has your phone, you can activate your camera feature. Hover it at that little square there. It's the interactive part. So grab your phone, and what that's going to do is take you onto what we call a story map. And that's off of the platform that we use with Esri. That's one of our partners with ArcGIS. So I'll give everybody a second.
I'll post this too. I'll send it out.
Okay. And so what that's going to take you to is a digital story. The story that is with this one is on La Ku'oko'a, as we're approaching La Ho'iho'i'ea, the Hawaiian sovereignty. And one of the things we want to do is incorporate projects with local schools where we can get them to tell stories of their communities, put it onto the digital format as such. And when tourists click onto different parts of the interactive map, they'd be able to access those stories. Yeah. So we can get that community voice and participation. So where we are with things, once again, thanks to council members, we have funds to start a pilot project, and our goal is to look at, right now in the planning phase, we look to identify one site for East Maui, one site for South Maui, 2 sites for West Maui, with the funds that are made available. And basically look to answer the question, does this concept actually curb the tourism behavior and create better experience for visitors and residents? Yeah. And part of that is we definitely need to work with all of the community to make sure everyone's voice, from business to organizations to our native Hawaiian community, are heard and represented well. Yeah. If you have any questions, it's my phone number and my email. If you scan that QR code, my contact will download right to your phone, so you can go from there. Yeah. So I know that's a nutshell of a thing. Did I hit my 5 minutes?
You're good.
Okay, good. So, thank you, folks.
Okay, so we have just one question in our chat, which is Hani'o'o is getting bombarded by these tour companies. Solution, pass Hani'o'o and stay on Hana Highway. The road is 10 miles per hour at Hamoa Beach. Here drivers are not driving the speed limit. Hard to show aloha when we're overcrowded by tourists. And I myself is the granddaughter of George Kanawai Pi'ilani, lineal descendant of Hana. So it's just a feedback comment, not a question, but I wanted to share that. And it is now 7:30, so I know that our representatives want to share things going on also with the community. So, Dawn, do you have a suggestion?
Yes. I always have a suggestion. Anyway, I think it is time to move to our representatives. We have invited Kamalu Carroll to come and speak on behalf of the mayor's office, and she needs to leave earlier than later, so I'd like to invite her to come up first. Suck it in, suck it in.
Aloha. Aloha. I think everybody knows me. But anyways, I wear many hats in this community, and tonight I'm the liaison of East Maui, working for the administrative office. We've actually been really busy. I did write everything down because it was a lot. One thing I didn't write, we've actually been traveling from Keanai, Wailua, all the way into Kanaio, which is not normally considered East Maui. But I have participated in that large cleanup of abandoned cars down in Kanaio. So it was a very big collaboration. It didn't just take our office. We worked with forestry, our MPD, DLNR. So very privileged to help our community. So here's some updates. Whoa. Sorry for all you insect lovers. But there it went. We'll make arrangements later. Okay, and of course it's dark now. You know what? You get your light. I'm sorry.
We'll just grab somebody.
We should have started this daylight.
Here, I'll hold your sleeve.
Okay. Okay, completed and upcoming projects. Relocation of 130-foot office trailer. This is actually good news for the baseball players. They will be relocated in the first 2 weeks to be moved up by the old school cafeteria. Yes. So there's a lot of planning, and the containers will go up first, and then mice guys will be, someone's coming in to move those steps, and then their trailers will be moving up. We did some resurfacing, Helene Hall, ADA, parking stalls, just completed. It just needs to be lined, and then that will be, those, what would we call it, candlesticks will be removed, so the handicap area will be clear for our ADA residents of the community and visitors. Helene Hall and restroom scraping of lead paint will be completed. District is planning on repairs in restrooms first, so we are able to reopen the restrooms for public use. Then to work on the reopening of Helene Hall. Hana Ballpark concrete slab 3-inch by the dugout. Those of you who have children or relatives with the baseball, we know that's always been a problem on that dugout with the mud and the kids sliding all over the places. It's always a hot mess. Our Hana High School, Old Hana High School repairs, phase 2 repairs update meeting. I just got an email as I drove up. So I think it's August 11th. I apologize, but they just sent an email this evening.
July 28th.
Oh, 28th, okay. But that just came through this evening. New safety railings were installed at the Old Wharf at Hana Bay Beach Park, completed. New guardrails were installed fronting the Hana Bay Pavilion. That's all completed. Installation of 2 new ADA barbecue grills at Hana Beach Park. Installation of new basketball and tennis courts, lighting project all completed. Installation of new field lighting. Of course, they closed it down, yeah. But it's coming up again. Hana Ballpark main infield work, reconditioning and forthcoming. That is to be announced. Upcoming events. MIL football will have 2 games at Hana Ballpark. Aloha Week festivals, 15th to the 23rd. And district is offering 6 to 10-year-old open kickball and dodgeball starting July 27, 2022. 10 a.m. to 12 noon Wednesdays at Pa'animai Park. Please call the Parks office at 808-248-7022. I'd just like to mention that kickball, that's how I throw out my knee. But it was good fun.
Okay, there's your list.
And Yes. There's actually a couple of things I want to mention. And I'll hurry up. I was trying to read fast. We are having a Keiki Fest this Saturday, 9 to 12, with a lot of nonprofit organizations. So if you have children or grandchildren, bring them on down. We have fun activities. I just want to point out Becky and Skylar. They are a big support of this. Alulike, Maui Police Department. I cannot go without giving Paul Tonneson a big shout out. He actually kind of nudged me and said, Hana kids need something. And we're doing it.
Great.
And since Nicole's on the line, I want to also thank Valley Isle Excursions. And I saw Senator DeGaia. But anyways, for those of you who have contributed to make this a success, it's our first annual. And hopefully we will have many more years to come. School supplies also will be given out. And enjoy. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for hanging and sharing. Okay.
Thank you, Kamalo. And now I would like to introduce our Maui County Council East Maui representative, Shane Sinensi. He's my boss, by the way. So I have to behave tonight. He's a great boss. He's the best boss.
Hey, you got your rings. Mahalo, Don. And mahalo, Heidi. Mahalo, Hana Business Council for having this and inviting me tonight. And nice to see everybody. Also wanted to extend my mahalo to the Maui Visitors Bureau for coming out here and spending the night with us and with Don today, looking at all of our high traffic areas. So I appreciate you guys coming out. I just wanted to quickly give you guys an update with some of the things that we've been doing at the council. The new Department of Agriculture, we're very excited. The mayor just picked a director in Kali Arsi and a deputy in West Yap. So we're excited that the new first ever Department of Agriculture will be getting going. Thank you. During the budget session, we added a couple positions so that just to ensure the success of the new department. We added a ag sector CIP grant writer position. That position is slated to go after a lot of the larger infrastructure monies that are out there, the funding that are out there. Also, we added a community needs grant position, and that position will be taking on some of the small micro grants that a lot of our farmers have been qualifying for. So we want to continue those. And then finally, we added an ag waste, compost, and regenerative position. And so this new position under the Department of Agriculture would create a strategic plan for waste to revenue strategies, including composting on the island in the county. So those are additional positions that we added. As far as this past Monday, the council approved the water authority, countywide water authority, starting with East Maui. So that was exciting. The council sent it to the November ballot. So everybody in the entire county, we get to vote if we want to go ahead and start a countywide water authority, beginning with East Maui. And so the impetus for that was, if we're going to be serious about our agriculture, then we need to secure those water resources for the next 30, 50 years. And we just cannot have drought restrictions as part of our water plan for the next 30 years. So I'm hoping that everybody will support that on the ballot in November. Thank you for that. And then finally, I think Don wanted to talk about some Maui invasive species. As you know, we increased the funding for Maui invasive species, And for us in East Maui, I think we just got to look at the Big Island and see the effects of coqui frogs and little fire ants have caused, and the devastation they've had on the Big Island. So we're always looking to increasing our efforts in invasive species mitigation, especially for us that live here in East Maui. Of course, Myconia has always been an issue. Myconia, once it takes over the rainforest, it takes a lot of the water that we need, that we supply for the rest of the county. So we want to do that. And then there's also a Bill 70, not Bill 79. We're also addressing giving exemptions to farmers so that they could put up 10-foot fences without permits, so that those farmers can address the deer infestation that's kind of wreaking havoc around the island. So again, mahalo for having me tonight and giving you those updates. Aloha.
And now we would like to invite Senator DeGaia. Is she here?
I don't see either Senator DeGaia or Linda Clark.
Where?
But there's a comment from Haoli.
Okay.
And maybe we could ask if anyone else has more that they want to share from our online participants.
Okay. I'll let you handle that.
So one more comment in our chat. Mahala ia auko here in Hana from. Do you want to read this, Haoli?
Sure. Aloha. Let me know if I cut out. Yes, mahalo ya oko, everybody for sharing. My name is Haoli Kahali'uahi. My comment in the chat was, here in Hana, from Ko'olau to Kaupo, we are over maximum capacity of tourists and visitors. In short, enforcement is really lacking. Messaging and signage are just one tool in the toolbox. I know there was some mana'o shared, but I just kind of wanted to dig deeper into that. What's your mana'o on enforcement? And actually allowing places, we could use Wai'oka, for example, to rest without any tourists and visitors there. Just to expand on it, I think that in order to make change long-term, we have to take bigger leaps and talk about actually decreasing the amount of tourists that come here and not just, moving them from one hotspot to the next. But I think we actually have to talk about the fact that we're overwhelmed and past capacity and what we can do to make change that will last long-term and make a real impact for the people who live here.
Mahalo. Do any of our panelists have any comment to it? Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you for your good question. So this is something that we've been exploring the possibilities around, and we've been focusing on this for a few months now, I would say, and talking with different organizations to gather more information, including residents out here in East Maui. And one of the things that we're bumping up against is that we unfortunately, so to speak, can't, in terms of managing the area, we can't restrict passage along the road to Hana. So in that sense, it can be a challenge with regard to enforcing or restricting people from going to certain places or going down the road to Hana. And with that in mind, we're really, needing everybody's good ideas, everybody's mana'o to come to the table, because there are quite a lot of constraints in terms of managing with regard to land ownership and public access. And I have heard it expressed before, the idea of, what if certain areas were closed off during certain days and only open to residents? And so I think what we need to know is, more from the community about what the community wants. We also heard today that it sounds like there's also a sentiment about not wanting to restrict public access to certain places. So there's such a so many different perspectives, and then also the constraints that we're actually working with regard to all the different entities and landowners and federal and state and county. So that's why we were really wanting to explore a pilot program. What we've heard is that the majority of bad behavior, so to speak, illegal parking, trespassing, safety concerns, illegal tour companies can be mitigated when there's visitor information, you know, some kind of ambassador there, a real human person that's going to provide orientations and have that care to provide the education that most people aren't going to do what they're being asked not to do in the presence of a witness, you know, in the presence of someone else. So we see some hope in that sense in terms of mitigating and managing some of these problems. And
I have a question on that. So in the survey, you talk about, I'll just share this.
Dawn?
Here, let me just, there.
Yeah, so the information that we're hoping to gather from the survey tonight, we'll be bringing to discussions on resolution number 29. And so this resolution names Department of Transportation and other private landowners as the primary stakeholders and calls them to work with the Hana Highway Regulation Association. So it's this type of resolution, these types of discussions that will help us to find out what's really possible and which entities are willing to, you know, come to the table and really work together to find solutions to this, because it's not cut and dry.
This is linked in the survey online when you get it, and tomorrow I'll post this video and share it with our mailing list so that we can get more of your questions as they come up and get them out to our membership to get answers. And unfortunately, I don't know what happened with Senator DeGaia and Representative Clark, but I'll get any updates from them and share them tomorrow with this so that we can just leave feeling updated and know that we'll get more tomorrow. And with that, I want to just go ahead and let anyone else online right now that has anything to share to go ahead.
Hi, Heidi. Nicole here. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. To address that concern, I absolutely understand the challenges with public access and rights, but from a tour company's standpoint, we've actually taken a position to have voluntarily taken non-commercial days. And so for us, we do not operate on Saturdays or Mondays out to Hana. And that's because we do see that there is an issue of over tourism. And like I said in the leadership, and I actually did pose a question to, of course, the community, how can Valley Isle Excursions set standards to the managed tour operation industry in Hana, which is basically, you know, create policy, advocate for regulations, and demand enforcement of current regulations. So I absolutely, as a tour operator, understand and support the concern, being that we operate day in and day out. We chose Saturday because we understand that that is a weekend. And a lot of Hana residents drive in and out for Costco runs or sporting activities, visiting family on the other side. So we do not want to add to the congestion on that day. We are still a business and we still have employees to employ. So, I mean, shutting down more than, you know, that on a weekend is not feasible, but we do try to do our part. We also don't operate on Mondays, Monday being the first day of the work week. After your weekend of day of rest, we also don't want to contribute to the congestion of transportation, local people coming in and out. So we do try to do our part to not add to the over tourism. We also feel like we could be part of the solution with a lot of independent travelers. They're not managed, so they're gonna go anywhere. They're gonna park anywhere. You know, they're not gonna follow rules, but on guided tours, and like I said before, not all tour companies are created equal, but we are all guilty by association. So with that, if there are concerns that we could help set standards with the tour industry anyway, the tour operators with, like I said, non-commercial days, if all tour operators agreed on a day to not bring any guests out to Hana, I think that would help alleviate, but that would take coordination and cooperation. But again, I'm here to learn and lead and really take part in the solutions in a lot of the challenges that Hana and the East Maui communities face out there with especially tourism, among other things that the challenges the communities face out there.
Mahalo. I know that Chuck Thorne walked up here distinctly to ask Nicole something a little earlier. Do you want to do that? And I heard Nancy had something too. If you want to come on up, since our other elected representatives online are giving us a little extra time, we'll take a few in-person questions and share.
Hi, Nicole. I know your dad, Ray. He was a great guy. I've met him many times over the years. And I'm glad you're following in his footsteps. But I think you're wrong about Saturday. That's the one day nobody goes to town because the bank is closed. All the places you want to go are closed. So we never go on Saturday. That's the one day you should come. Anyway, that's all I got to do. And the drivers you bring to the Hana Lava Tube are really sweet and friendly. Thank you.
Okay. Take that one. Okay. Here, Nancy, come over this way, please.
I've been here just a little over 4 years. I love the culture here. I love the care for the land and the ocean and our resources and retaining the values of those who come before us. So I really, really value that. I have a question. It's kind of unrelated, but after I moved here, I noticed all of a sudden all these no parking by all the bamboo forests. And I can understand a lot of the no parking, but I'm baffled why, where there's all that room for people to get off the highway. And I'm sure there's a good reason, but I would love to have somebody explain it if they know. That's all. Thank you.
The state guys? Who's that?
Those that aren't here.
Well, I just would like to say something about that because the bamboo forest area is private property.
Oh, okay.
And, people are encroaching on private property. And that is why that was requested. Now, there's still a kind of a lane there to pull over and let faster traffic go by, but no parking.
I see.
And that was done for that purpose, is my understanding. And if I'm wrong, anybody's welcome to clarify that.
I think one point Nancy mentioned to me was that people are still going onto the private property. They're just parking further away and walking down the road. And so no parking hasn't really stopped people from going on private property. It's just creating more of a mess by spreading it out. So that's part of the issue.
I have a question.
Okay.
So back to ways to maybe have less tourists in East Maui. I was just wondering if there's a way to regulate, how many cars get to drive to Hana every day. And just like a reservation system like we have for the Crater and we have for Waianapanepa, maybe there's a way that, the $20 per car and only this many a day get to come and they get an educational package. Is there any way to regulate how many people come to
Federal
Hana?
funding prevents us from constraining the number of people who come on that highway. And it's federally funded highway. It's a scenic highway that has to be kept open. I was hoping that they would do what we did with gas rationing in the 50s, where odd even, Monday, Wednesday, whatever, to rotate so that we didn't end up with as many, but with federal funded highways, you can't do that. Is that correct, Sean?
Right, that was a question that was asked, and something about, the state DOT
They don't wanna hear these
said
questions and
because
answers?
of
Well,
that
everybody
state
needs to
funding
come up here.
and all of the, all the interest that are
Okay,
paid
whatever you
for
want.
it, it can't be a private highway, or if we were considering to purchase it or close it, it would cost like billions because of the interest of all the federal funded projects that are still kind of, still going. We're still paying for all of those projects.
Can you repeat it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's federal funded.
Right.
And even if there was no fee associated with it and it was just a reservation system, we still can't restrict people from taking the road.
It's state constitution. The state constitution prevents us from preventing people from driving on the road for any purpose. So it's one of those things. And we have talked about toll roads for years, and we would lose our federal funding if we did a toll road, which would not allow us to continue to maintain the road. So we obviously, the toll road would not generate the kind of money that we need to maintain the road. So federal funding is really a key to keeping our Hana Highway open. So that's what I know about that, and that's, thank you, Councilmember Sinensi, for that. I think we would like to close up the Zoom portion of the meeting at this point, so thank you all for joining us. We're very grateful for your presence.
Oh, there's 2 more things I can read in the chat. So there's a couple more things in the chat, but again, I will post this. I'll put it on YouTube and link it so people can have access to this information. Haole says, just mahalo for sharing your mana'o. I do believe that mitigation and having a body present to educate is important and can make an impact. We've seen it at Ulaino. I guess expanding on that is how far we are willing to go and how much we are willing to fight for stronger enforcement, even if that means going to the state and federal level. Also, how far our business is willing to go to truly make an impact here. Mahalo, Nicole, for sharing what your folks are doing. And another question for Nicole from Marianne is, any success stories you can share with the Hana community that your company has given back or supported Hana, other than using Hana to keep your employees employed?
She already
But I
shared
do
that.
think that Nicole shared a lot about the support that they've, the company's given to the paddling company. Also throughout the pandemic, they were shuttling supplies out here for the community. There's just been innumerable things over decades. So, but mahalo for those that joined on Zoom. We're going to schmooze here. Hopefully next time you can come to the live event. I'm gonna go eat, and I'll post this. And please, participate. We have monthly meetings for the Business Council, and we welcome your participation and issues that you'd like us to bring to the table. So, okay, with that. Thank you. We're grateful for Zoom, and hui hou.
Good night.